This is a video with some specifics on how to change a fuel cell filter on a GS22 Nautique PCM engine ZZ5, which is the 5.3 liter. I'm going to put in the description down below a couple of links with videos showing the specifics of how to disassemble everything once it's off the once you have access to it, and that's what this video is about. And they do a great job of explaining it. But I want to show you some specifics about here to help avoid some challenges that you might run into. First of all, here's what you need. I'm in the boat, obviously, right now. This side panel has been removed. There's a panel that slides in right now. Of course, I've taken that out. But here's what you'll need for the fuel cell filter change. You'll need the gaskets, and so the two smaller gaskets is what you use for boats, I think 2014 and newer. They'll tell you in the description, in the actual instructions. This small gasket's for the drain plug down below, and I'll show you that in a minute. The drain plug down below takes a 7/8 inch. You'll need a 5/16 inch nut driver to take a fuel line off, a straight screwdriver to help you do that, although I didn't need it, a 7/32 wrench, Allen wrench, and a 7/16 inch wrench to help take the clamp off on top. And then some white lithium grease. They tell you to lubricate it with a gasoline resistant material, and I think white lithium grease is better than oil. And interestingly, here's the filter after 50 hours. Pretty dirty, so definitely needs to be changed every 50 hours, along with the water separator filter. So now we're going to go down below, and let me show you some specifics. And then also in the link in the descriptions are the specifics of how to do the disassembly of the filter. First of all, the water separator, change that every 50 hours. That comes off like a oil filter does. Oil filter wrench, big oil filter wrench will take this off. You got to use it maybe even to tighten it up a little bit because it's hard, difficult access. Put a Ziploc underneath it. 2 Ziplocs will do great. 2-gallon Ziplocs. Same thing over here. When you're draining this, 2-gallon Ziploc bags work great to capture it and allow you to get and loosen this nut. This nut on the very bottom is a 7/8 inch wrench. That's you use the big wrench. Break that loose. Get it halfway out so it starts to get loose with your fingers. Put the Ziplocs on there. Finish taking them off, and then the fuel will drain into the Ziploc. And then you carefully take the Ziploc off, go and dispose of your fuel. So here's the specifics. What makes this so difficult is when you take this clamp off, and you have to remove this little rubber thing here, and this is where you use a 7/16 wrench. Take that nut all the way off, and take this clamp completely off, expand it out, and just remove it in its entirety. I think that works the best. And then you're supposed to go and you're supposed to remove or bring this canister down, but there's a tube in here with the filter and all that, and you can't get it down because it hits the bottom of the boat. So what I found was way easier. There's a video of a guy struggling for about 25 minutes trying to take this off, and when he reassembles it, he's kind of having to do it blind. He has to put the filter in the bottom of the canister and then try to snap it on top. I didn't like that idea because I didn't know if my filter was seating, and you'll see with that when you take that apart, when you watch those other videos in my description. But here's the key. I think, unless I can figure a better way, but for right now, I think you got to take off these 3 mounting bolts up here. They're torqued down, so they're painted in red, and they have blue Loctite on them. So when you take them apart, you're going to hear cracking sound a couple of times. Blue Loctite's the medium, and then you want to have some blue Loctite to reassemble it. I did not have it, so I put it back in here, and I just will keep an eye on it this year, and then next year, since every 50 hours I'll do it, I'll reassemble it and put the Loctite on there. Don't put red Loctite. Don't do red, or you'll never get it apart. Blue. And then you'll see there's red paint from the factory if you still have that. If you don't, put a little paint or some marker on here colored before you take them apart. That way when you break the bolts loose, and then when you reassemble them, when those lines line up, if you don't have a torque wrench, you'll be getting it torqued to the same value it had before. Quite frankly, on a 7/32 Allen wrench, it's as tight as you're going to get it. I couldn't get it any tighter to get it to line up with the marks that were there. I did get the marks to line up. These 2 bolts have to come out completely. This one is just loosened up because it's got a slot, and then this spacer just pulls out. Then the whole apparatus just comes off to the side. Then you can tip it, and then you can separate this canister from the top of the housing, pull that off, take your filter off, Get your new filter, put a little white lithium grease. There's a gasket in the very bottom of that filter. You'll see it. Just then you'll pop that filter back on, put this canister back on, and then move this whole housing back in place. Slide it back because this bolt's still here, and then get these two fingers started, finger tight started, and then tighten them on down, and then torque them so the paint lines up. And then you go, of course, reattach your hose here. I did not take any of the wires off. I just have my power shut off to the boat, so I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to turn this thing on when it's all apart. And make sure, though, that you get this plug, put it on the bottom. I think once you drain the fuel out, put the plug back in. There's no reason not to. Put a new washer on it and reassemble that with the 7/8. Again, bad day if that gets turned on and you don't have the plug down at the bottom. You know, gas is gushing out. And so for the impeller, just the main thing about the impeller, in the link in the description is a great video on how to do the impeller. On this boat, you just need to remove this back panel. This is a GS22, and it's really, now I don't know if it's on a 20 or 24. 24 is going to have a little more room. I assume you'll have the panel. The 20 is a shorter boat. I don't know, but the 22 does. There's 3 screws here. 1, 2, 3. Take those out, and then this panel just pops right out. And then it's got a little track in the back. So you don't take anything else off. Just comes right out, and you can lay down here, put a light back here, and get great access to your impeller. When you are taking your impeller out, always you turn it clockwise, use a 1/2-inch ratchet to take your tensioner off. And it shows you that in the description, in the video that's in the description, that just other gentlemen did that did a wonderful video on. And so rather than me reinvent the wheel, I shared that. But the main thing is get that back panel. Don't crawl on top of your engine, try to stick your head back, forget it. Just come in the side here, and it's really quite easy. I think they wanted $500 to change this. This was like $700 or $800. It's just ridiculous. They was like to have the dealer do the fuel cell filter, the impeller, change the oil, change the transmission oil, change that separator filter. It was like $2,500 or $2,800. Absolutely ridiculous. And I did it for like $150 with original parts from PCM. So you can do this. Just be patient. And if you have any questions, put it in the description down below, and I'll try to answer them. But the key, get these bolts out. Get this thing off the bracket, and you can reposition it. And watch the videos in the description. They're excellent. Thank you very much.